right, well, it is my privilege to introduce our spotlight speaker today from Community Development Resources. And I'm just going to let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to Community Development Resources.
Oh, that's great. My name is Jeff Bruening with Community Development Resources. And first of all, I want to thank Amy, Brooke, and the people at Southeast Community College for the opportunity to speak this morning. Again, it's very nice of them to let us tell our story a little bit. But I've been with Community Development Resources for 12 years. Prior to that, I worked at Pinnacle Bank here in Lincoln for 7 years and Cornerstone Bank for 22 years in the lending, primarily lending area, commercial lending, but did some consumer lending, small loans, second mortgages for home improvements, etc. So I have a good, I have I have a varied background in lending, and it's been I've enjoyed every stop that I've made. Each place, you learn more, and again, first stop with Alice Dittman. She's one fine lady, and that's all I can say is that she's a trendsetter and a pioneer in the business, and she's just a super individual to work for. And I'm lucky to see her every once in a while because we still do business at Cornerstone Bank, and she comes in every once in a while at 93 years old, and she's hanging in there. And so, but that's a little bit about my background. Again, I came to CDR primarily to begin what they call an SBA 504 loan program. And I'll go into that a little bit here as we go down. But the 504 loan program is a very specialized product or loan that is offered through the SBA that deals totally in the purchase of commercial real estate or the purchase of heavy equipment that can't be moved. So people say, well, then you can finance trucks, on large trucks now. No, you can't, because your collateral's going down the highway every day, and so that can't be done. But we do several things at CDR, and one of the things I think we're most proud of is our business consulting or technical assistance, and that means we'll have people come in with startup ideas or existing small businesses, and they may have ideas. And the one thing we want to do with them is we ask, have you put together a business plan? Have you sat down and said, okay, I'm going to do this, and sometimes you'll see the deer in the headlight look when you ask about the business plan. And at that point, and that's why you're glad they come to you, because if you get started in this and have no idea where you're going or where you've been, you're not going to ever be successful in the business. And so when we talk about the business plan, obviously the first part is a short resume or a explanation of what your business does, what it's going to be intended to do, and then also, then you move into the marketing phase of it, and you look at where who's your niche market, who are the people you're trying to attract to your business, what are the demographics of those people, ages, female versus male. I mean, who are you trying to attract, and how are you going to go about doing that? And we like to take a look at that, and we might call in people like Steve Boers, who has a good background in marketing, to take a look, and just help with that particular portion of the business plan. And the last part of the business plan is obviously the projections, financial projections for the business. How much, what do you expect for the next 3 years? Project your sales versus expenses. How much do you have left then to support any debt? In other words, figure out your daily break even, and the things that we do, we'll try to help with that as well. Again, we don't know some of the businesses, but we'll try to work with this client and say, okay, we got to get some kind of idea. Because what is your break even? Where are you going to go? What can you afford? And again, sometimes that is something that a potential business owner or startup business entrepreneur, they do struggle with that. And again, you try to get them over the hump, and sometimes it just doesn't happen. And I'm not trying to be critical of those people, but sometimes some people just probably aren't cut out to be owning their own business, at least at this point in time. And we try to tell them that there needs to be a little more refining here and getting some things done that we feel will help you. With that in mind, then we also, again, I've always said though, the key to a good business plan, it's your roadmap to success or it's your roadmap to failure. Either way you want to look at it. When I say success, if things aren't where they should be after a year, okay, let's look at the business plan. What are your sales? Are they less than they should have been? I mean, have you mispriced the product? Have you mispriced your services? And have you not considered your expenses the way they should be considered? There's just a lot of variables there. And that's when we'll sit back and say, okay, we need to go over this business plan again. But like I said, you got to know where you've been before you know where you're going. And it's very simple. And you're all in business, so you know that the concept is simple. But sometimes to achieve the end result can be difficult. And on top of that, at CDR, we do micro lending for small businesses. These loans are up to $50,000. They can be amortized from 6 to 7 years. They're priced at 7.5% to 8.5%. And again, that is a little higher interest rate. But in this case, a lot of it, the people we're dealing with are a little more high risk. And so therefore they set the interest rate a little bit higher on that. And the micro loans, again, we like to have them secured by some sort of collateral. Again, a lot of this is based on character lending, though. When you look at these micro loans, we have to look at the person themselves and determine, hey, how serious are they about this business, and how serious are they going forward? Speaking, earlier with you, you're very serious about your business. There's no doubt about it. And again, that's what we look at in the micro loans, and again, I talked about 504 loans, very specialized SBA loan. It's strictly for the purchase, again, of commercial real estate and for the purchase of equipment. Loans are 10 years on the equipment. They can be up to 25 years on the building loans. Fixed rate, money's through the SBA, Small Business Administration. Again, that's one of the nice things about it is, the borrower doesn't have to come up with as much down, because the SBA will find it between the bank and the SBA, they'll finance up to 90% of a loan on a building, where in most cases, if you go for conventional, they're going to be saying the bank's going to want 75. It's going to be a 75% loan to value. And so, with the help of the SBA, and the SBA loan on the 20 to 25 year is a fixed rate loan, which is also very appealing to people. They know what their overhead is. They know what that loan's going to cost them every year. And so, you can't pay it off early in the first 10 years, but after the first 10 years are up, you can pay it off if you want. And so, again, that is a specialized loan that is offered through the SBA and with your bank. We work with your bank on that. Lastly, we do what they call, we have loans for nonprofits in Lincoln. It's a community loan, it's called. It's a nonprofit loan that we will work with. For instance, I can't think of the name, but they have the gardens around town. Community Crops. We've worked with them in the past, and we work with the Northeast Family Center. And so those kind of places, they may have a need for something, government funding isn't coming in and this and that. And so they've come to us in the past, and we have worked with them in the past as well. And also, we have community development resources, which we're all very, Rick Wallace started this program back in 1985. Rick was the executive director for many years. Unfortunately, Rick passed away 5 years ago from cancer. And again, we've kept the program going. And again, Rick was a super individual, had a very, very clear vision of where he wanted this to go. And aside from CDR, though, we also recommend, you could work with the SCORE, on some of their programs. And then there's also NBDC, Nebraska Business Development Company, which will help with the projections. They're good at helping, with projections. They're good at helping with the demographics, et cetera. What part of the city you're going to be located in, how many people are there, what's their ages, is this going to, benefit your business, and they're very good at things like that. And so again, we highly recommend that those are some of the places, also resources that can be used. One thing I want to say is I handed out a sheet, and I'll really briefly go over this, but I'll touch back again, before we leave. This sheet, CDR in conjunction with Southeast Community College, this partnership was started with Steve several years ago, and thank you, Amy, and thank you, Brooke, for allowing us to continue the partnership. we will help people with business-related seminars or seminars or workshops through Southeast Community College, up to $175. I think that's about the maximum for a lot of those classes, etc. And we will provide financial assistance for people if they want to have CDR pay for that class. I mean, there are several things. You'll fill out an application, which you'll be able to find online at our website. But the thing of it is also, there's a couple small forms you'll fill out, and one of the forms just says, the teacher signs off, says, yes, this person was here. And they, and so that way we know we can pay, we're not going to hand out the money until we know that person is taking the class and they have that certificate signed. Again, this is this is one of the things that I think is really, that CDR is really can be helpful to small businesses moving forward, is if the intended person taking the class, if they're just starting, or if they, this is something that we feel very good about, that we can help with the expenses, some of those expenses. And again, and so I'm highlighting this very much so please keep that in mind. And before you leave, I'm going to say, now remember, we're offering financial assistance for classes offered through Southeast Community College. Unfortunately, the fall semester is already filled up, and so which is good. That's great for Southeast Community College and that, but we will certainly be working with Brooke and work with Amy for the winter and spring sessions, and we're going to keep everybody up to date. What classes will be offered, and what again, I want to say seminars and workshops, that because classes we probably wouldn't get involved with a 6 or 8 week session, and so again, that's where we'll be with this information. And again, we're easy to find, easy to register for online at communitydevelopmentresources.org.
We're very thankful for this partnership with you. I want to highlight that not only is it for classes and workshops, it's also for coaching.
Yes, it is.
Through the Focus Suites, we have an individualized coaching program called Focus Coaching, and so that series also counts for this, and we're very, very appreciative of that. Already have a couple of clients that have taken advantage of that this month yet. So
that's good. And in light of that, there may be some classes and seminars and workshops listed, but there may be one through SCORE. They have their Saturday, I think those are like $50 or something like that and they offer those, Steve, what, monthly or quarterly? And the $50, we will support that. Again, we'll support the things that help your business. And the coaching, we never thought about that. But when Brooke and Amy came to us and said, would you support the coaching part of it? Heavens, yes. That just makes the person that you're working with that much better of a business person. The lady that they brought the other day, this lady is a retired police officer that's starting her own business, and it's just really a pretty nice deal that again that she can come to us and we can assist her with what she's trying and what she is not trying, but what she will accomplish. You can just tell visiting with her that she will do well in what she's starting here.
Great. You also are a longtime sponsor of Perk Up Thursday.
Your coffee, the coffee you're drinking. That started with Steve. He and I were standing there one day, and Steve said, "Would you ever consider?" "Yes, we'll do it, Steve." So it didn't take much.
Well, we appreciate that.
Well, we're glad to do it.
Before we open it up to your questions, I have just a couple questions
Sure.
for you. Do you have a favorite book or resource or tool that you think would be helpful for our group?
Well, when you say a book, so that can't include the sports page,
Whatever you think would be helpful.
No, I tell you, when it comes to tools, and that kind of stuff, the resources just coming to CDR, we can put you on some things that, there's through Wells Fargo, they have a business plan that you can take one step at a time, and it's like a 10 to 12 step program, and it covers every facet of your business. But we can get you the coordinates, we can help you get on that and say, okay, here's my steps. And you don't have to take them all. You might just say, I just need help in here or here or here. And so that's, that is good for people that starting their business, small business, want to grow their business. It is a real asset for that. When it comes, you can go back and say, geez, what's your favorite book? The old 1 Minute Manager, and all those kind of things. That's like watching The Wizard of Oz. Everybody's going to say, that's a good book, and that kind of stuff. But again, we have the resources, or we will get the resources for you if you have questions or how you want to do things you may want to do with your business. If we don't have the answer, we're going to help you find that answer.
Well, we were talking before coffee started, and this guy doesn't drink caffeine,
So he sponsors it.
Yeah,
I sponsor it, but I don't drink it.
The coffee. So you don't drink caffeine. What do you do to stay motivated and perked up?
Motivated for me, for 18 years when I was at Cornhusker Bank, I was over on North 27th Street.
Okay.
And when working with people there and the small businesses, just to see them successful and to see those people, you felt good just helping them because you knew they were totally and truly appreciative of the things you were trying to do for them. They weren't putting on any airs, they weren't, but they were, most of them were very appreciative. And, in the business we're in now, we have several, of our success stories that, Steve and I met with one last week. That's what makes you feel good, is saying, hey, I had a part in that. We helped them achieve success. And, that's what keeps you motivated. That's what makes you want to say, hey, pretty good thing we're doing here. And so, those are the things that we look at and we're most proud of, because that is that's our goal, is to make you bankable. Most people that come to CDR, they've tried their bank, doors are shut because it's a startup, there's no history, we can't do anything for you, no collateral, et cetera, et cetera. That's why they're at CDR, because they can't go anyplace else, and that's what we're there for, is the old saying, we want to make you bankable so that you can go back to the bank and get that line of credit, which may be the thing you really need, because of your seasonality in your business. But that's our goal, is to make that business a bankable business going forward. Like it is here, when you're only here for 3 years, and then you're hoping that you've grown to the point where you can move on to larger spaces, and so yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Final question from me. Do you have a favorite restaurant or local business?
Oh gosh, and it's a local business kind of, but it's not, one of the places when you go into a Hy-Vee, they treat you very well. Yep. When you walk out of a Hy-Vee store, you ask them, where's this and what aisle? Sometimes they'll just stop what they're doing and they'll take you right over there, and show you. And that's how a business should be. I mean, you're there to help people. And that's, one of the things that I always look at when I go in, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be any place. What kind of service is there? Because if the service is bad, what's going to stick in your mind when you walk out of there? The food was okay, but the service was lousy. And it's just small things like that I look at. Again, when it comes to restaurants, any kind of Mexican restaurant will do for me, and so I truly enjoy the food. And so, and Doris, the lady that works at CDR, she was telling me about a new place out on Northwest 48th Street, and I said, I've got to try it. And so, I will be doing that. But again, service is the key when I go into a place and how I judge a place. And if do I really want to go back there? No, that's how I'll judge a place.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have questions for Jeff? Steve?
Jeff, in case somebody wants to stop by and see you in person, where's your office?
Our offices, we're located Meadow Lane Shopping Center, 70th and Vine, 912 North 70th Street. We're there from 8 to 4. Again, the doors are open. Please stop in. We'll do whatever we can to help. Again, if we can't help you with questions of that, we're going to find the answers for you. We'll do everything we can to find that answer for you and your business.
Just a couple things I wanted to chime in. A lot of exciting things going on at CDR, and I just wanted to reiterate one point Jeff made. CDR will oftentimes make loans that the banks won't. So if you get a no from your bank, call Jeff.
Well,
it doesn't mean he can positively make the loan, but they will oftentimes work with you, and they have more flexibility than the banks have, and so they can maybe do a loan that the banks won't do. So.
Because last week when Steve and I met with that client that we met with, went to the bank couldn't make it, they sent them to us, we were able to do it, and now that person has their line of credit, you know, and they're bankable. Last Friday, a gentleman came in, paid off his loan, and he goes, "This worked just the way you said it would, Jeff. I was able to come in, you made me the loan for this piece of equipment, I'm paying it off today because I went to the bank and the bank is now making me a loan for another piece of equipment." And so he said, "This has worked exactly the way you've said it would work," and that's what we like to hear.
The other thing I just wanted to chime in about some exciting things happening in CDR. We were without an executive director for a long time when Rick Wallace passed away. Jeff worked as the interim and did a great job keeping everything rolling. We now have a different temporary executive director, and that is a guy named Mark Hansen, who's very, very capable and got things rolling really well. And we're in the process of hiring a permanent director, and when I have information about that, I'll share it, because we're looking for just the right person. And the reason it's important is that we're heading into some new territory, and I think this is something that Rick Wallace would approve of as well. We are moving into the territory of doing low-income housing loans, and we're going to become a major player in Lincoln in providing affordable housing for people. It's an initiative that the city wants to do badly. There's a shortage in Lincoln of affordable housing, and we're going to become a player in that market. We have to expand. We've got a new expanded board of directors. We're fundraising. We're doing lots of fun, exciting stuff. Jeff's been part of that, which I'm very grateful for. But you'll be seeing more information about that in the future. So.
And that is, with Steve mentioning that, the city has identified the need for 5,000 additional low to moderate income housing units over the next 10 years. So, you know, you're talking 500 units a year. And so the CDR, in particular, Mark Hansen has really been the driver behind that. And he has really working hard behind the scenes, et cetera, to get this off the ground. Yes, ma'am.
So are you working with NeighborWorks?
We have the director of NeighborWorks is on our board.
Okay.
Yeah, Wayne's on our board.
Closely with
Good.
NeighborWorks, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because
Yeah, that's-
we are doing this similar, you know. We're going to go into those neighborhoods where NeighborWorks, and there's nothing that says we won't be working with builders and remodel and people going into existing single family, but bring them up to code, make them livable in that. And so, yeah, that, and I think that's kind of what NeighborWorks does, is go into a lot of the neighborhoods and rehab the housing, et cetera. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I might have missed it. So is this being facilitated through CDR itself, or are you working with different property management company? Or are you...
Right now it is, CDR has started because we are a CDFI, Certified Development Financial Institution, what you have to be to get into this low to moderate income housing. Now, the board of directors, Steve, Mark, and everybody, they're putting together a list of developers, contractors, et cetera, to work with, because of the monies that CDR is trying to raise to work with the developers and contractors in construction of these units.
We're a little ways off on delivering service in that market segment, simply because Jeff's got expertise in business lending, but not so much on low-income housing lending.
Zero.
We're going to need to hire a new loan officer, et cetera, and get new policies in place and all kinds of different stuff. So there's a lot of groundwork that has to be laid first.
6 months to a year, I would hope it would be running very well.
Well, and again, working with NeighborWorks, because they go in to revitalize these areas. So because I have children that have taken advantage, and because of that, it's a huge advantage, because you've got people that can't afford to buy their first house because of income and whatever, and then they allow them to be able to buy the house and actually give them money to help repair the house, and then that's their first house, and then they can sell that to move into a better
And move up.
house. Yeah, it's
Terry Euland, who was also on the board, was a previous director at NeighborWorks. And, you know, and I worked closely with Terry when I was on Cornerstone Bank on North 27th Street. And people that were buying first-time home buyers, then they had to go through classes. You just couldn't, come, and come to NeighborWorks and thinking, hey, I need some money. Well, we'll work with you, but you're going to work with this first, and it got the people to know what they need to do, how they need to do it. And again, these were classes that could take 8 to 10 weeks. It wasn't like it was just a one-night seminar. No. They had to come and again, they had to take the classes, graduate from the class, and the workshops, and again, but I think it really benefited a lot of first-time homeowners that had no experience on home ownership. That's another thing that our consortium in the housing is prepared to do, is to work with people who may not have enough money for the down payment. They found a home, they found a nice home in that, but there may be some gap lending there. And so we want to work with those people, but that's, as Steve said, there's a lot of things to refine yet, and they're working hard on it, I will say that.
Yeah, I've got 3 questions.
Okay?
Jeff, where does seed money stop and CDR, the SBA program start?
Some of our loans that we offer are through the SBA. In other words, they provide the money to loan to the borrowers. We also have another funding coming from what they call the RRP fund, Ready Reserve Program, through the CDFI. They're providing the seed money for us to make these loans. And so it's monies that are provided by institutions, governmental institutions, that we, then obviously we have to toe the line with them and report and let them know we're doing what we hope we're doing and doing it right. But that's where the lending monies themselves come from.
Okay. I've been, through what I read, through what I observe, I've seen how the gig economy has accelerated with the pandemic and everything. Maybe some people would dispute that, but I'm curious as to whether that's placed any constraints, because there's a lot of folks who want to do exactly these things, and I'm wondering where there might be constraints in the system.
You mean in terms of loaning
Yeah.
to them? And again, that's something that we can only determine by having that person come in, work with them, on a business plan, develop a plan, because the constraints, there is not really any constraints. As a matter of fact, during the pandemic, the SBA made 1 year's worth of payments on any loan that we had through the SBA. And so, they want to see the small business succeed. And so constraints were not, a lot of constraints that were put on us, but a lot of people just didn't, during that time, come in and want to start their business either. They realized that they put constraints on themselves, is what I'm getting at, because they didn't, they knew this probably isn't the time to do what I want to do. Some people might have had a program that, it doesn't matter when you start it, whether it's during a pandemic or the winter or whatever the case. We did have a couple of those. There's no doubt about that. But again, most of the constraints were self-imposed because they didn't want to start the business time during the pandemic time.
Last question, and thank you. Last question. With the economy where it's at right now, what kind of headwinds do you see?
And I wish I could answer that with a really definite answer, because if I could, I think the world of all you people, but I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be, probably, a billionaire someplace down there, with the headwinds the way they are now. Again, we're still seeing some people that, they have the ideas. Most of what we're seeing, though, are people, existing businesses that are coming back for maybe an additional loan, for another piece of equipment. That with the way the economy is right now, I wish I could give you a better answer, but I think it's just anybody's guess right now where this is heading. I mean, you hope what they're saying is that things are starting to come out of it, and we're heading, in the right direction. But
I didn't know if there's anything you were witnessing right now.
We're not witnessing anything. We still have, a lot of loan inquiries, loan activity, so we're not witnessing anything out of the ordinary. But in terms of new startups, and that's probably, we're not seeing the number of people on the startup side. We're seeing more people that have the business that, again, like the person last week, paid off a piece of equipment because they could go to the bank now and get additional other equipment. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Is a lot of what you do as far as more startup focused, or do you have recurring loans? I mean, it sounds like a lot of the people you work with, the goal is to really get them bankable by
Exactly.
other organizations.
Exactly.
What is the typical timeline that, I mean, or is there a typical timeline of businesses that you either are targeting or have been seen over the last few years?
I wouldn't say there's any timeline, per se. If a business has been going, we've done a 5-year loan and they've paid as agreed and they're building up some capital, they're building up assets for the business, they can now go into the bank and say, we know we've got a pretty good capital base in that. And so those are the kind of things. But the time frame, there is no real time. There's nothing set in concrete that says you got to have it by, you got to be out of here by this or that. No, we're going to work with you until that bank says yes. And again, as it says, community development resources, we're the only resource that some of the small businesses have in getting the loans to perpetuate their business and keep it going forward.
Just a comment about Alice.
Yeah.
I moved here in '92 and acquired Keo Office Furniture back then. And I needed a line of credit. And it was a twofold thing. They knew Tom and Justine, and maybe you know them too, because we did all the furniture at the main bank and most of the branches. And Alice had me come in, or they had me come in with them and Alice. We sat there for about half an hour and she drilled me.
Oh yeah.
Only Alice can do. And I ended up with a $100,000 line of credit. Now we had a large offering of products, and so we probably did over $1 million a year in sales and that. So and a lot of that was through the manufacturer. But taking it one step farther, after I sold my business in '04 and I worked for them, I get a call from Alice. She at that time had passed the reins on to Barry, and she was officing as CEO in the Williamsburg branch, and they had rented out part of that. She says, "John, go call these two guys." My point in that and sharing that is she remembered her customers.
Oh yeah.
And took care of her customers, even if they had. I ended up changing banks for a couple of reasons. Nothing against Cornhusker. Anyway, she says, there's two guys starting a business, Boyd Holberg and Dan Cedar. And I said, well, I know Boyd. I'm on the President's Council at the Chamber with him. Well, they need furniture. Well, that led to me ended up working for Leadership Resources for 9.5 years, 2 years down the road. And other than playing ping pong with her, which I haven't done, she's a strong still at 93 community.
Oh yeah.
People. And
anyway, you talk about ping pong.
But you talk about character reference and trust, if you will. That's the cool thing about Cornhusker.
Nope, and that's how Cornhusker has developed its reputation over the years. It's a people bank. It's not a numbers bank. It's not when you go in there, you're going to talk to somebody, you're going to feel good about it, and you're going to feel good about your relationship. Can't say anything, not one bad word about Cornhusker Bank.
Yeah, and a second point, that you help get them to a bank and lend, and sometimes you lend. Where does your resources come from?
At CDR?
Yeah.
In terms of our lending, the funds, again, we get that through the SBA.
Primarily all through SBA.
SBA and again, the CDFI. We're making use of some monies that the CDFI has provided for all the CDFIs throughout the United States, and so that's where our seed money, that's where our monies come from to loan. And again, obviously we want it back, and so
You gotta have your approval.
I had a guy tell me one time, he says, Jeff, you remember, you're in the business to rent money. You're not, you don't sell it because you want it back. And I think that's a very good point, And so I see those signs now going down the street, loan sale, I'm going, no, loan lease. I mean, they want it back, and so.
How many, do you know off the top of your head how many businesses you work with this year?
Well, right now we have 65 loans that are right at $665,000 in the loans. Average size $16,000, and so we'll work with, and it may be well, right now we have 18 loans that we've done in this fiscal year, January to today, because we have a certain amount that we have to do by that is dictated by the SBA. And so normally, though, we'll work with probably 20 businesses a year on loans. And again, through that, we hope to get new businesses. Best thing we have is the word of mouth. One of our best resources is the banks. I can say, Westgate Bank has been very, very good sending people because they know they can't help us now. But as I've told their loan officers, but you're not saying no. And I said, that makes a big difference, and this person will be back to you someday if this business is successful. And like I said, they can't do it because it doesn't match and meet their underwriting standards, but they're not telling you no, at least. They're saying, go see CDR. They might be able to help, and if they can, then maybe down the road we can work with you. And so, again, that is our number one source of leads, as well as the word of mouth. And so...
Any final questions or comments?
Yes, ma'am.
It reminds me of the story of how Tony Robbins got started, that he wanted to go to a Jim Rohn conference.
Mhm.
Didn't have the $1,800 because he was like 17, 18 at the time. Anyway, from bank to bank to bank to bank to bank, and
Mhm.
finally found a woman who would lend him the money. And now he's at I don't even know how much, because somebody took the time and effort and faith in him to loan him that money.
I always think of, I read an article in the Omaha paper, Willie Thiessen, that opened the Godfather's Pizzas. He went to the First National Bank of Omaha, and they talked about him. The banker said he came in with a business plan that I couldn't say no. He had everything, everything you needed, everything you wanted. He had it all thought out. And he said, I just couldn't say no. He said, there was no reason. And we've had that as well. There was a lady that came from Omaha, $40,000 loan. She came in and she had a business plan. And I just said, and first and secondly, she was very, very confident in what she was going to do. And I said, okay, it's yours. I mean, it's one of those just difficult. You knew it was going to be a good loan. And so, and again, before anybody, don't forget, classes that are being offered through, and we will help you with the tuition classes through Southeast Community College, the business classes, seminars, workshops. We will be more than happy to work with you.
All right, well, thank you everybody for being here today. Thank you, Jeff.
Oh, my pleasure.
For your continued partnership and support. And stick around, have more coffee.
Have donuts. Nobody leaves without 2 donuts.
And we'll see you all next Thursday.
Thank you again. Appreciate it, Brooke. Amy, thank you. Great.